Story 1. Bird droppings in my coffee. I used to work with birds daily and did not notice when one dropped a feather right into my coffee mug until I drank it. Unfortunate. Story 2. Carolina Reaper. I seriously thought my throat was going to close up and I would asphyxiate. Luckily, it did not, and I lived to experience my bowels liquefy and my anus burn for days. 0 out of 10 do not recommend. Story 3. Fell asleep waiting for DoorDash to deliver a cheesesteak one night after drinking. Woke up about 4 or 5 hours later, grabbed it off the porch and still ate it. Thankfully, it was cold outside and no animals got to it. Story 4. I was in a hotel on the Argentina-Brazil border, and they served a scrambled egg-looking dish that was sweet. I thought it was something more familiar until I took my first bite. To this day, I don't know what it was meant to be, dessert or some sort of failed breakfast dish. I was a kid and still ate it all because I felt obliged not to leave leftovers on my plate, but I found the flavor and texture weird. I then got food poisoning and threw up for 3 days. Story 5. Not something I drank, but when I was around 10, my dad spit his nasty Copenhagen tobacco into a can of Coke I was drinking. Then I drank it and vomited all over my mom's car about an hour later. Just foul. Story 6. When I was a kid, around 8 years old, I wanted to know what powdered garlic tasted like. I tipped the jar back, the lid came off, and my entire mouth filled with garlic powder. I had never tasted anything so bitter in my life before that. Story 7. One of my friends ate a heated-up rotten apple covered in chocolate milk and fruit roll-ups. Story 8. Chapulines are Mexican fried, salted, and spiced grasshoppers. They primarily taste like the spices used and have a crunchy texture. I probably would not order them again, but I would eat them if they were served to me. Story 9. I just got back from Japan 2 months ago. I went to a 5-star dinner. The first course was unusual but okay. Then the next 12 courses felt like an episode of Fear Factor. The first course was whale sperm. The last course I could stomach was fish liver. Both had very strange textures. The whale sperm was served in a ball, so I assume it was the scrotum. The fish liver looked like a piece of sausage until I ate it. It was soft and mushy. I had to suck it through my teeth to swallow it. Needless to say, it was an expensive experience I will never forget. Story 10. Room temperature chili macaroni meal ready to eat for breakfast under the hot Oklahoma sun when I was in basic training. It gave me post-traumatic stress disorder. Story 11. When I was 16, someone hired by Six Flags to put on an insect show offered me a mystery prize to eat a live cockroach. For some reason, I thought it was going to be an electric guitar. I did it, and all I got was a pass to the front of the line for a ride. I am still mad about it. Story 12. Fermented raw walrus is a delicacy in western Alaska. The taste is chewy, slimy, sticky, and rancid, yet also good. Story 13. Super drunk with some Philippine Marine Corps members in the Mindanao jungle. I thought they were telling me I was eating duck until I noticed one of the dogs that was usually around was missing. Story 14. I remember when I was younger, I had an obsession with being different and showing it off like most kids did. This all peaked when one day I stepped on a small ant and killed it. Instead of leaving it there, being the show-off I literally ate it. But it did not stop at one. I kept going. Thankfully, eating ants is not the worst thing you can eat. At least I did not contract any disease. Story 15. I held the head of a living salamander in elementary school because my friend dared me to. He showed me first by biting down and thrashing his head from side to side. Story 16. Fried chicken sandwich with maple syrup and a whole chunk of butter. Tried to make my friends laugh during my foolish days. Story 17. I was too afraid to try it, but I recently came across a species commonly known as penis fish. There are many videos available online showing how appetizing they appear. Story 18. Regularly, I played with modeling clay. I liked it soft, but I also liked it dry and crunchy. Most of all, I liked the homemade variety. My pockets always had modeling clay in them. Story 19. About a decade ago, I ate a couple of slices of bread and felt fine for about 2 hours until I was vomiting all night and saw hallucinations when I closed my eyes. I heard my blood moving through my veins, and it startled me. I have never looked at bread the same way since. Story 20. I hope you are ready for this. The Kraft macaroni and cheese, but the character-specific ones such as Scooby-Doo, SpongeBob, and the Flintstones with sugar like a lot of it. And I loved it. Story 21. In Iceland, I tried horse and shark. Horse was good and tasted like a normal beefsteak. Shark tastes like blue cheese. Story 22. Ketchup and mustard on these giant vanilla cookies at my school. It has been more than 50 years, and I still think about those cookies. Story 23. Whale beef is not as morally wrong as I initially thought, given that minke whales are not endangered at all, but it has a revolting taste. Tastes like fishy beef. Story 24. When I was younger, there was a lot of salt on the table. I ate it because it looked delicious and ended up getting nauseous. I avoided salt for the whole month. Story 25. When I was in college, I had a meal plan during the week but not on the weekends. I was also very poor. One month was particularly bad, and all I had to eat was some tuna, peanut butter, and saltine crackers. Interestingly, tuna and peanut butter on saltine crackers together is actually pretty good. Story 26. Fermented and cured Greenland shark in Iceland made me dry heave and burned my sinuses. It was an incredibly unpleasant experience. The taste was fine, but the aroma was overpowering. I also ate horse on that trip, but that was pretty tame and just tasted like roast beef. Story 27. Raw horse with a garlic dip in Tokyo. Out with locals, no idea what we were eating, not bad actually. I learned to love unagi barbecue eel when we went to a small restaurant and the menu was small, medium, or large. So good. Story 28. Bit into a nice moldy coffee cake. I have never taken a bite of anything, especially if it is packaged, without looking thoroughly since. Story 29. Bald eagle is on my list, but I have not been able to find it yet. I want to taste the freedom. Story 30. This one might not be so bad to imagine, but I took Colby Jack cheese cubes and melted them into my chicken ramen as a kid. To this day, that is still the one and only time I threw up violently. Story 31. I was very sick and was not getting any better. My grandmother had an apothecary magazine, and inside was an article about urine which was said to help with sickness. From this point, you can probably guess what I did next. Story 32. Not knowingly. We were invited to a drinking event on one of our trips to El Nido by a group of nice locals we met. I did not know the appetizer was dog meat until it was mentioned. Needless to say, I never eat appetizers anymore from random nice people I have just met. Story 33. My husband ground up a can of chili beans and mixed them with tomato sauce to make dinner. I vomited. The texture of the sauce was nauseating. Story 34. Toasted onion sandwich. I used to love that toast, mustard, and ketchup, onions, and sometimes chips in it, but mainly just onions. Story 35. Well, not late, but I was at this party and was going to get in the wood-fired hot tub. The party had about 50 to 100 people, and the tub usually had 8 to 10 people in it. I was a bit drunk and trying to enter it gracefully, but I failed and fell in headfirst. After some fumbling, I finally emerged and thought nothing much of it. I chatted and drank with the people in the tub. What I didn't realize was that the beer can I was drinking from was the same half-empty one I had when I fell into the tub. Afterward, it was full again, of water that maybe 20 to 30 people had been in. I don't know how much I drank until it dawned on me what I was actually drinking, but the can was emptier than when I first got in the tub. Story 36. Expired milk with a dead fly in it. I was very young and, for some reason, did not look at the cup I was drinking from. Story 37. Horse boogers. Large please. Yes, you heard it here. When I was a kid, I was petting a horse and talking to it, saying it was a nice horse. Then the horse sneezed, and it seemed like 2 cups of boogers hit me in the back of the throat like a shotgun. All I could do was slowly swallow. I am now known as Uncle Horse Boogers, Mr. Horse Boogers, and Hey Horse Boogers. Story 38. I unknowingly consumed horse meat in the Netherlands. It was fried into a croquette and I thought it was beef or pork. Story 39. Ate dog meat and even had seconds before being told what it was. Honestly, it was better than the cow lung also on the table. Story 40. A Thai restaurant had a chicken soup. I asked the owner not to make it spicy. He said that is not how it works and that he would make it spicy because I would not like it any other way. He brought it to the table, poured squid juice into it and said, "Enjoy." I almost died. Story 41. Week-old food and items collected in my brother's sink drain filter. He added hot sauce and heated it all up. Trash ties, pistachio shells, and food. It was a double dare. Story 42. I once accidentally drank a cigarette, but from a 40-ounce bottle at a party. Another time, I grabbed what I thought was my drink while hanging out with some down-home buddies and took a big drink. It was thirst-quenching Copenhagen spit. Story 43. Hot dogs and sugar were an absolute delicacy back in the day. Now, I haven't dabbled in that wizardry in a while. Story 44. I dipped a Domino's cinnamon stick in ranch by mistake. I was on FaceTime with my then-girlfriend and didn't want to spit it out for fear of appearing gross. She now reminds me of it every time we have cinnamon sticks. Story 45. While working on a farm with sick cows, I accidentally came into contact with cow feces. It was terrible. I contracted cryptosporidium, which ruined my digestive tract for a year. Story 46. Some kind of sauce in an Indian restaurant made me sick. I have not been able to enjoy Indian cuisine since. Story 47. Sat on an ant nest and they crawled all over me and got in my mouth. They taste a bit like lemon. I was only about 5 years old at the time. Story 48. One of my core memories from childhood, I think first or second grade, was a taste test. We were all blindfolded and had to guess what was in our mouth. This was around 1990. The kid before me got a spoonful of Hershey's chocolate syrup, so I was excited for my turn. Then I got mayonnaise. Story 49. Cheetos dipped in peanut butter when I was a kid. Then one time, when pregnant, I ate sesame chicken on Little Caesars pizza. Story 50. First thing that comes to mind. I was eating a bag of cheesy pretzel chunks and pulled out a giant ball of just conglomerate cheese powder. I was ecstatic. I had found smaller balls of dust on snacks like Doritos before, but this thing was almost the size of a walnut. After appreciating it for a few minutes, I shoved the whole glob in my mouth, which felt like a dream come true but also deeply wrong in a way that was honestly a little thrilling. A few weeks later, I was on an online forum and someone had excitedly posted a picture of basically the exact same thing. I went to the comments to congratulate them and revel in our shared good fortune. Instead, I found a comment from someone recommending that they not eat it because it was probably the result of an awkward little kink in the machinery that produces the snacks. The cheese dust had built up over time, possibly months, along with dust and other particles in the factory air until it became too large, broke off, and tumbled down the belt into a bag, where it might eventually be found by someone usually intelligent who briefly allowed their lifelong snack fantasies to override better judgment. I felt a little sick, and I do now have some regrets. Story 51. My ex took a piece of sausage from a pizza in my bowl of Reese's Puffs, and that was the one time I ever didn't yell or argue. I just went to bed and left the bowl on the counter. But I have never touched Reese's Puffs again because that flavor with sausage was sickening. Story 52. Foie gras is duck liver. The process to make foie gras involves slowly and painfully force-feeding the duck corn to enlarge the liver for better taste after butchering. This causes the animal to endure an extremely painful and horrible life and is considered extremely inhumane. Story 53. Disgusting in the mouth, taste and texture like a moldy cinnamon bun, almost neon green on the inside. Wondered why it tasted so earthy. Vomited into a trash bin without a bag. Disgusting while digesting. Homemade aioli was a few days old and did not taste different than yesterday. It was the hardest food poisoning of my life. Salmonella is no joke. Story 54. In a Louisiana restaurant, I was served an excuse for gumbo that was definitely made with brown gravy mix, not a roux. Story 55. A funyun with peanut butter on top and a dill pickle. As a broke and high college student, I haven't tried it again since then, but I remember thinking that it tasted great. Story 56. A rubber glove and half a tube of toothpaste in a carton of milk, followed by the rest of the tube of toothpaste. Story 57. Didn't eat it, but a few years ago, my house mysteriously had a crazy slug infestation. I think I upset someone and got hexed. It lasted for close to a year. They were everywhere: kitchen counters, walls, floors. I even saw snail trails on my shoes in the closet. One morning, I made myself an iced coffee and grabbed a reusable plastic straw from the silverware drawer. You guessed it. I honestly thought it might have been mold when I sucked it up. I immediately spit it out in the white sink to see the spineless creature that had just exited my mouth. I wish more than anything it had been mold. It literally made me nauseous for weeks. I'm still terrified of slugs and now notice them everywhere. It's like I have an eye for them. If whoever hexed me is reading this, I'm sorry. Please stop. Story 58. I got high once and decided to make a big sandwich with everything edible I had in my house. Eggs, Nutella, Pringles, cheese, chicken, apple slices, noodles, soy, ketchup, mayonnaise, and more stuff I can't remember. At the time, I thought it was the best thing ever, but now I feel sick just thinking about it. I mixed Red Bull and chocolate milk for a drink. Story 59. I don't eat raisins anymore. When I was 14 or 15, I was at my aunt's house. I wanted a snack and grabbed one of those small boxes of raisins. I went outside on the porch and bit one in half. There was a worm in it. It was so disgusting. I immediately spit it out and then threw up. I haven't eaten another raisin in 21 years. Story 60. Peanut Lion Bar. The factory messed up and put Peanut Lion Bars in a Caramel Lion Bars pack, which contains no peanuts, and it was the most vile thing I had ever tasted. I hate everything peanut, by the way. Story 61. When I was a toddler, I ate bird droppings. There was a fresh pile on the deck, and I put my hand in it and then put my hand in my mouth. My dad ran quickly to me but could not stop me. I do not remember this. I was about 2 or 3 years old. Story 62. My uncle dared me to eat his feces one time. It was quite funny and not as bad as it sounds. Story 63. Raw horse tongue sushi, and I got a mouthful of really dead rat from cutting into the side of a house with a chainsaw. Yes, I vomited, but I did not have any long-term illness. Tasted like vinegar. I actually threw up more after the sushi, which was in Japan. Story 64. My stepfather would get drunk after drinking a gallon of tequila when I was a kid. If I didn't eat all my food, he would slam my head into walls or hit me with something. One day he was barbecuing drunk out of his mind, slipped and fell on all. The chicken. This man was very large, standing 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighing over 300 pounds, with a hairy chest. He forced me to eat the chicken with his hair on it. I vomited several times but managed to eat a whole dinner plate of food. It was awful. Story 65. Undercooked scorpion. The sensation of its intestines spreading over my tongue like a fishing net was unlike anything else. Story 66. Sometimes to check if breast milk is still good. Like if I didn't check what time I thought it, I will take a sip. Spoiled milk is very bad. But I think the absolute worst thing was a beer. Caused immediate projectile vomiting. Food-wise, nothing. I am picky, so I don't try foods often unless I think I will like them for sure. Maybe sauerkraut when I was a child. Story 67. Where is the person who thought they were eating one of their stray M&Ms and accidentally bit into a tick? Laugh out loud. Story 68. Live shrimp writhing in agony in whiskey in China. Never again. At least the twitching fish had been brainstem killed. Story 69. Not ate but drank, and I once took a sip of my brother's chewspit can because I thought it was my beer. Story 70. Allegedly or with video proof? I have different answers. Edit. My friends have a different answer. Story 71. In the 1960s to 1980s, we had military rations that consisted of meat powder mixed with water to create meat patties that were then fried. A friend of mine acquired a barrel that was more than 30 years out of date but still properly sealed. We tried it and survived. Story 72. I was kind of drunk sitting under a fig tree eating the figs when I noticed that there was some kind of insect inside the fruit. I ate it anyway. Story 73. A spit-roasted guinea pig. I was in the highlands of Peru, and the only other dish was called sopa de bolas, which is goat testicle soup. I had the guinea pig. Tasted like chicken. Story 74. Haley, do you feel like you were going crazy? Are you afraid to trust me for a reason that you seriously question how it makes any sense? But Sam says she is concerned about with such conviction that it scares you anyway. I need you to give me some type of sign if that is the case because otherwise I am giving up on this. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.